In the remote border region between Nepal and India in the late 19th century, a dark, menacing beast with a thirst for human blood began to terrorize local villages. For years, the local people lived in constant terror, their lives forever shadowed by the specter of this merciless killer. Its name would become synonymous with unparalleled savagery and the most prolific killing spree by a single wild animal in recorded history. It would become known as the Devil of Champawat. The Champawat tiger was a man-eating Bengal tiger that terrorized the border region between Nepal and India. This tigress holds the record for the highest number of humans killed by a single wild animal, with an estimated 436 victims over a 7-year reign of terror. The story of the Champawat tiger did not start in India but neighboring Nepal, where she had been driven out of her natural habitat. Her attacks were isolated and sporadic at first, but they soon started to escalate. As the death toll continued to climb, panic spread. Soon the tiger attacks became so frequent that the villagers were convinced there were more than one man-eater attacking them. By the time the local government reacted, she had killed almost 200 people. The Nepali army was called and tasked to kill her. They tried, but she managed to escape their bullets. Outwitting them, she was much more intelligent and cunning than any tiger they had seen. The army, with the help of local villagers, finally managed to push her towards the Sharda River on the border of Nepal and India. There she found a safe place in which she could operate. Forced to hunt humans for food, the tigress had become an expert man-eater, stalking and killing villagers with ruthless efficiency. Women and children were easy prey as they gathered firewood or tended to livestock and fell victim to the beast's deadly ambushes. The attacks became so frequent and devastating that the villagers lived in constant, paralyzing fear. Venturing out alone was a death sentence, as the predator's yellow eyes watched from the shadows, ready to pounce at the slightest opportunity. The tigress was cunning, changing her behavior to avoid hunters. She would strike in one village, then disappear for miles before attacking again, making her seem to be everywhere at once. The tigress lost her fear of humans completely, hunting in broad daylight and picking off victims regardless of whether they were alone or in groups. She would even enter villages roaring to scare people into their huts. As the body count continued to rise, the local authorities knew they had to act. Hunters were offered considerable rewards to end her reign of terror. In 1907, Jim Corbett was approached by a friend, a high-ranking British official, who knew Corbett's hunting skills, and asked for help to track down and kill the man-eater. Corbett accepted the challenge, determined to end the tigress's reign of terror once and for all on 2 conditions: for the bounty to be withdrawn, as he did not want to do it for the money, and for the other hunting parties to be withdrawn. He knew that it would be dangerous to have other hunters out there on the edge shooting at everything that moved, including him. What followed was a harrowing pursuit through the rugged terrain, as the experienced hunter matched wits with the cunning man-eater. 5 days after arriving in the region, a breathless runner reported a fresh killing: a woman who had been ripped from a tree while gathering leaves to feed cattle in a town 60 miles away. Corbett set out immediately. After a few days' hike, Corbett arrived to find the villagers in the state of abject terror, unwilling to leave their homes. He spent days looking from dawn to dusk, but the trail went cold. At the suggestion of villagers, Corbett headed for the nearby village of Champawat, the site of numerous attacks. Sure enough, soon after his arrival, a 16-year-old girl was dragged into the forest, and Corbett had a fresh blood trail to follow. It is here where Corbett would come face to face with the tiger for the first time. Corbett took aim and fired, but missed the tigress. Spooked, she ran off deeper into the forest, with Corbett still tracking her. But as the sun began to set, Corbett knew the lush forest would be a death trap, and he would stand no chance against the tiger in her domain. The next morning, Corbett returned with about 300 villagers, who under his direction formed a line to drive the tiger from the ravine where it lurked, firing rifles, pounding drums, and screaming as loud as their lungs would allow. As the human chain closed in, Corbett lay in wait by the mouth of the gorge with his rifle, knowing he would have only seconds to take his shot at the fleeing tiger. And sure enough, through the lush forest, the tiger emerged. Corbett took aim and fired, but his first shot missed the mark. The enraged tiger charged towards him, her yellow eyes blazing with fury. Corbett quickly fired again, wounding the tigress. But the man-eater was not done yet. Roaring in pain and rage, she continued her charge, her massive jaws gaping wide. Corbett scrambled to reload, knowing he had only seconds before the tiger would be upon him. As the Champawat Tiger closed the distance, Corbett steadied his aim and let off a volley of shots at point-blank range. The barrage of bullets finally brought the notorious man-eater down, ending her reign of terror once and for all. The villagers celebrated. They wanted to parade the tiger through surrounding villages. Corbett, a quiet and humble man, was shaken by what he had seen and what made the tiger turn into a man-eater. He skipped the feast and instead headed home on a borrowed horse. With him, he carried the skin of the tiger, now forever known as the Champawat. A post-mortem examination of the tigress's remains revealed the reason for her turn to man-eating. Her upper and lower right canine teeth were found to be broken, likely from an old gunshot wound. This permanent injury had prevented her from hunting her natural prey effectively, forcing her to target the vulnerable villagers as an easy source of food. In the end, her reign of terror, all the death, and all the destruction was most likely caused by a single careless hunter. The Champawat tiger's death marked the end of one of the most prolific killing sprees by a single wild animal in recorded history. Her legacy, however, would live on as a grim testament to the devastating impact that human encroachment can have on wildlife, driving predators to extreme measures for survival. As for Corbett, he went on to hunt similar tigers with similar stories in the coming years. He also witnessed the devastating toll trophy hunting had on wildlife numbers, and this pained him deeply. Ironically, the man known as the legendary tiger hunter became the animal's most dedicated conservationist. He helped establish the Haley National Park, India's first national park, left India in 1947, and settled in Kenya, where he died in 1955.